Joining me now, Janet Napolitano, former Secretary of Homeland Security under President Obama. She was also the former governor of Arizona. She was a former Attorney General of Arizona. She was former president of the University of California. She has all the things that make her perfect for this conversation. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
And you do have all the things because as a governor, you understand sort of what governor's authority is as it relates to the National Guard. As a governor of a border state, you understand the complexity of our immigration system and the difficulties both at the border, with our legal immigration system, with our asylum system, with our backlogs. There are real issues to deal with. And we seem to have picked a particular narrow slice of this that is not actually our biggest problem with immigration.
No, immigration is a huge issue. It's been allowed to kind of linger for far too long. You know, ultimately, Congress needs to act, and Congress needs to reform the immigration system, and it needs to include several elements. One, it needs to make sure we have adequate and effective and efficient border security. And I'm not going to quarrel with the administration's actions along the border, although I do wonder whether 13,000 active duty military will be there permanently. But the border is one thing. And when I was a governor of Arizona, I deployed the National Guard to the border to provide backup to the Border Patrol so their time could be spent finding those who were trying to cross illegally. Second, we need to totally reform our visa system. We don't have enough visas. We're already finding now with these so-called mass deportations the effect on different aspects of our economy by not having an adequate number of visas. And with a good and functioning visa system, you know who's coming and where they're going. And then third, and probably most difficult politically, is we have to decide on some way that those who have been in the country in an undocumented fashion for years, many of them, can somehow get right with the law so that we're not breaking up families and that we're not pulling people just off the street, finding them at churches and finding them at immigration offices where they're going to report. So those are the three basic elements. All of them, by the way, were encompassed in the bipartisan Senate bill that was negotiated last year that kind of got tubed in the course of the presidential campaign. But it is high time for the country to have an immigration system that reflects us both from a legal method, both from an operational method, and that is consistent with our values. Remember that it's important for our viewers to remember that there were Republicans in the Senate who were very frustrated that this bill did not go through because they had worked hard on it. It wasn't perfect, but it was a move forward. The current Department of Homeland Security Secretary, like you, was also a governor. This is an important distinction because what's happening in California is relevant to both the Department of Homeland Security and what governors do. I want to play a clip for you. This is our current Homeland Security Secretary, Kristi Noem, speaking at a press conference on Thursday in response to protests against ICE taking place across Los Angeles.
We are not going away. We are staying here to liberate this city from the socialist and the burdensome leadership that this governor and that this mayor have placed on this country and what they have tried to insert into this city.
Okay, that's a little bit confusing. Liberate Los Angeles and liberate them from socialists, mayors, and governors, both of whom are elected, by the way, whether you would like to think of them as socialists or not. They are the elected mayor and the elected governor of California. I don't even know where to start with that one.
Well, just throwing out labels doesn't help solve the problem. And what I've been waiting to hear from the secretary is a real solutions-based approach to how we do immigration enforcement in this country in a way that is operationally effective, but is also consistent with law, with due process, and with our values. I'm also waiting to hear from her how she would change the immigration law. You just don't throw people at it. And what we saw in L.A., now I'm speaking as a former governor, is, to me, as a former governor of a border state, it's simply outrageous. To federalize a governor's National Guard when in LA, in the city and in the county and in the surrounding area, you have multiple law enforcement agencies who are under the control of police chiefs and sheriffs and so forth, who are used to working together, who are used to dealing with protests. Protests are not unknown in California, as in other places in the country, and have modes of communication and so forth. And then to just kind of Bigfoot them and send in, I think they're going to deploy like 4,000 National Guard, and then the active duty Marines. And that to me was really crossing a red line.
Governor, thank you for being with us. Janet Napolitano is a former Secretary of Homeland Security under President Obama and author of How Safe Are We? Homeland Security Since 9/11.